Chapter 8: The Journey to Nadiosan. Mayumi and Rachel began their journey to Nadiosan. As they went deeper into the forest, they finally reached the open land beyond it. Their bodies ached, their lungs burned from the effort, and dust clung to their clothes like a second skin. Ahead of them, the mountain rose like a sleeping giant, its peak covered by a thick mist. The air was colder here, and every breath felt heavier with meaning. As they took in the scenery, two familiar figures walked toward them. Carlos and Felipe had found them! Relief surged through Carlos, but it lasted only a moment before Rachel's expression cut it short. Her posture stiffened instantly, and her hand drifted toward the weapon at her side. Mayumi's expression was quieter, but no less guarded.
"You shouldn't be here."
Rachel said firmly.
"Not with us. Not now."
Carlos blinked, momentarily stunned. Then his gaze moved quickly between them, searching their faces. "You're okay," he breathed, relief slipping into his voice. "Both of you." Mayumi frowned slightly at the sound of that. But before anyone could respond, Felipe stepped forward, his eyes shining as he looked around at the towering trees and glowing vines curling through the forest.
"You won't believe what we just went through to get here,"
Felipe said, his voice half excited and half terrified.
"At first, the forest was so beautiful. The nature, the trees as tall as buildings, the flowers blooming in all kinds of colors. Then, we met the talking animals. They even have small barangays. They work together like the people in Baguio. It's amazing! Honestly, I don't understand why the stories about this place make it sound so scary when it's actually the opposite."
"Felipe!"
Mayumi interrupted, her eyes widening. Rachel stepped forward at the same time.
"You came into the forest city?"
Rachel said sharply. Felipe froze mid-sentence.
"Yes?"
Mayumi pressed a hand to her forehead.
"You're not supposed to be here.
She said quickly.
This place is dangerous."
Rachel nodded firmly.
"Outsiders are not allowed in these woods."
Carlos frowned slightly.
"Well, you entered this forest, and it's more dangerous than ever now. What are we supposed to do?"
I'm with Rachel. You weren't supposed to follow us here.
Mayumi shot back.
"And you two were supposed to face Veronica alone?"
Carlos replied. For a brief moment, tension sparked between them. Mayumi's voice rose.
That's not...
She suddenly stopped herself. Her shoulders lifted slightly as she took a slow breath, clearly forcing herself to calm down.
Okay.
She said quietly after a moment. Carlos exhaled too, rubbing the back of his neck.
"Right. Sorry."
Mayumi looked at him, the anger fading into worry.
I just didn't want you to get hurt.
Carlos met her eyes.
"Same reason we came."
Rachel watched the group carefully, though her expression remained serious.
"This forest protects itself.
She warned.
And if Veronica learns that outsiders are here..."
Felipe swallowed.
"Then that amazing walk through the forest might turn into a very bad idea."
Carlos stopped in his tracks, the words striking harder than the barrier ever had.
"We crossed the cities,"
he said, forcing his voice to stay steady.
"We made it through the barrier. Doesn't that mean something?"
"Or it means you were reckless.
Rachel shot back.
Or clever. Veronica is both."
Mayumi stepped forward, placing herself slightly between Rachel and Carlos. Her voice was calm, but her eyes searched his face carefully.
We don't know where your loyalty truly lies, Carlos. If you're still tied to her, even unknowingly letting you walk beside us could ruin everything."
Felipe clenched his fist.
Carlos isn't with her anymore.
She said sharply.
He chose to leave. He chose to fight against her. We didn't come this far to betray you.
Rachel exhaled slowly, crossing her arms.
Risk isn't the same as trust. One mistake, one hidden lie, and the cost won't just be yours.
At the moment, both Mayumi and Rachel held their ground. Their hesitation wasn't cruelty or fear. It was growth. They understood the consequences now. They knew that loyalty wasn't proved by words or proximity alone. They were learning to weigh trust, risk, and responsibility with sharper judgment, knowing that one wrong decision could unravel everything they were trying to protect. Carlos lowered his gaze.
I know what people see when they look at me.
He said quietly.
I know that maybe I can't be trusted, but I'm not Veronica. I don't want to be. I just want the chance to prove it.
The silence that followed was heavy and uncertain. Finally, Mayumi spoke.
If you walk with us, Carlos, you don't walk as an equal. Not yet. You earned every step.
Felipe nodded immediately.
Then we'll earn them together.
Rachel hesitated, then gave a single sharp nod.
One betrayal,
She warned.
and there won't be a second chance.
I understand.
Carlos said.
I swear it.
They began to climb together, the tension between them as thick as the mist curling through the trees. The mountain path twisted upward, narrow and uneven, forcing them to move carefully. The air grew quieter the higher they went, as if the world itself were listening. As they climbed toward the peak, an animal suddenly appeared, a palm civet darting across the path, its fur catching the dim light. It landed on a rock and turned to stare with them with bright, knowing eyes before vanishing into the trees. Rachel whispered.
It didn't run from us.
Mayumi nodded.
Civets are cautious. They don't trust easily.
Carlos swallowed.
Neither do you.
She met his gaze.
Trust has to be earned.
Further along, a Maya bird descended silently, its wings barely disturbing the air. It perched above them, its soft chirping echoing through the trees.
The civet sees what others missed.
Mayumi said softly.
It reminds us to look beyond first impressions.
Carlos stopped walking.
Then maybe it's telling you not to judge me by who I used to follow.
No one answered, but the Maya bird lingered a moment longer before lifting into the mist. As the group climbed higher, they felt as if there were eyes everywhere. No animals were visible, yet they could sense unseen gazes watching their every step. Suddenly, the mist thickened, curling around their feet and rising to their knees. Rachel stopped.
Do you feel that?
Mayumi looked again at the ancient map and nodded slowly.
The Nadiosan place is close.
The forest around them shifted. The animals they had glimpsed throughout the climb began to emerge, not as fleeting shadows, but as steady presence. They gathered in a wide circle around the group, calm and unafraid, as if guarding an invisible gate. Carlos froze.
They're not running.
They're waiting.
Mayumi whispered. The civet stepped forward first, its tail brushing the ground. Its voice when it spoke was quiet but sharp, like thought itself.
You walk with a past that follows you.
The civet said, its luminous eyes fixed on Carlos.
Survival is not pretending it never happened. Survival is learning when to change direction.
Carlos swallowed.
What if I fail again?
The civet tilted its head.
Then adapt. Do not return to what you broke.
Next, the branches above them stirred, and the Maya bird ascended, wings silent as it perched on a low limb. Its gaze swept over all four of them.
Wisdom is not speed.
The civet said.
It is patience. You are young, but you are no longer careless.
Rachel lowered her head slightly.
How do we know who to trust?
You do not.
The Maya replied.
You choose, then take responsibility for the choice.
The Maya eyes lingered on Mayumi, who nodded thoughtfully. From the edge of the clearing, a deer stepped forward, its muscles tense yet controlled.
Strength does not always roar.
The deer said gently.
Sometimes it stands still and refuses to be moved by fear.
Carlos exhaled slowly.
Veronica uses fear.
Yes,
The Civet replied.
and fear scatters what you should stand together.
A sharp sound echoed as a mountain goat appeared on a nearby ledge, balanced effortlessly on stone barely wide enough for its hooves.
Every step matters.
It said bluntly.
Rush and you fall. Hesitate forever and you never climb.
Carlos nodded.
So we move carefully.
And together. Meh!
The goat added. Suddenly, the sky darkened slightly. The animals below did not retreat, but none spoke. The civet glanced upward.
The crows might be watching.
It said quietly.
They represent control without understanding.
They follow her.
Rachel whispered.
Yes,
The Maya said.
but watching is not the same as ruling.
Carlos looked up at the circling crows.
She doesn't own me anymore.
The animals seemed to relax, as if a silent test had been passed. The civet stepped back.
The mountain has spoken.
The Maya spread its wings.
The Nadiosan plays await those who walk honestly.
One by one, the animals faded into mist. Not fleeting, but withdrawing. Their lessons remained behind, like footprints in the mind. The forest fell silent again. Rachel broke the quiet.
I think that was forgiveness.
Mayumi smiled faintly.
And guidance.
Felipe clapped Carlos lightly on the shoulder.
Guess the mountain approves.
Carlos looked ahead toward the path leading upward. For the first time, his past felt like a lesson, not a chain. Animals gathered quietly around them, silent witness to the moment. The words of the animals echoed in their heads.
This is why we fight.
Rachel whispered.
Not for revenge, but for this.
Mayumi placed a hand on Carlos' shoulder.
You're with us now.
Felipe smiled.
For against her.
Carlos looked back at his companions.
Then let's finish this. Together.
For the first time, the four stood united, their bond forged through trust, risk, and responsibility.
Eventually, they reached the summit of Nadiosan. It was covered in a thick, glowing mist, making it nearly impossible to see their surroundings. After a while, Mayumi, Rachel, and Carlos became separated. Only Felipe, trembling with fear, clung tightly to Carlos.
Rachel?
Mayumi called, but there was no response. Her worry grew heavier.
Are you sure we're in the right place?
Felipe whispered nervously to Carlos. The mist slowly began to fade, and a shadowy figure emerged before Mayumi.
Rachel, are you okay?
Mayumi asked cautiously. The figure laughed mockingly.
Oh dear.
It said,
Sarcasm.
as the mist cleared, Mayumi's eyes widened. It was Veronica, flanked by her army.
They were surrounded.
Thank you, Carlos, for your contribution.
Veronica laughed sarcastically.
Mayumi froze.
Did Carlos betray us again?
Carlos and Felipe soon spotted Rachel lying unconscious on the ground. Rachel! Carlos shouted as they ran toward her. Seeing them, Mayumi sprinted toward Rachel.
Get away from her! Rachel!
She cried, kneeling beside her friend. She turned to Carlos, her voice shaking.
But the potion! We have the safety potion! What is this, Carlos? I thought you were on our side!
Carlos stammered. But I... Before he could explain, Rachel steered faintly, and Veronica commanded her crows to capture them.
Don't worry, little girl. Carlos didn't betray you.
Veronica said coldly.
You two girls are very lucky. The little bunny somehow retrieved one of my potions. Whatever. I'm quite frustrated that I couldn't sense the two of you, even while using my powers. But you were clever enough to realize that letting a former human spy join your little adventure would weaken your precious potion.
The revelation shocked all four of them. Chaos erupted. They tried to flee, but the chase quickly split them into pairs. Carlos spoke quickly to Felipe.
We'll draw them away. If they reach the realm, they'll have a chance.
Felipe hesitated, then nodded.
Alright, let's do this.
Carlos lured the crows chasing Mayumi.
while Felipe drew off those following Rachel.
Mayumi and Rachel kept running at the top of the mountain, their breaths quick and uneven. Suddenly, the air shimmered and the forest around them shifted into something brighter and unfamiliar. They finally understood. They had crossed into the magical realm. Mayumi slowly turned back, her heart sinking when she saw what had happened behind them.
Carlos and Felipe were surrounded by a storm of crows, dark wings circling as the two struggled to hold them back.
It was clear now what they had done. They stayed behind so Mayumi and Rachel could escape. Mayumi's chest tightened as guilt rushed through her.
This is all my fault.
She whispered, her voice shaking.
If I hadn't dragged anyone into this.
Rachel gently placed a hand on her shoulder.
Mayumi, look at me.
She said softly.
A year ago, you would have believed the voice telling you that everything was your fault. But you're not that girl anymore.
For a moment,
Mayumi froze. Rachel was wrong. A year ago, when she was still a 7th grader drowning in doubts, she would have believed every criticism about her. She was careless, incapable, someone who only made things worse. She had hidden every talent she had because she was afraid of proving those harsh words true. But so much has changed since then.
Carlos and Felipe stayed behind because they believed in you.
Rachel continued.
They know you can finish this.
Mayumi took a shaky breath. The guilt was still there, but it no longer controlled her the way it once did. This moment, the danger, the sacrifice, the responsibility felt like a turning point in her life. She wiped the tears from her eyes and straightened her shoulders.
All right,
Mayumi said, her voice steadier now.
I won't let their sacrifice go to waste.
She looked ahead toward the unknown path of the magical realm.
We'll put an end to this, Rachel.
She declared with quiet determination.
We must.